So I'm back from the Middle East, and it is surprisingly sunny and warm here in Massachusetts. So I want to head outside today for this video, just for a little change of scenery, because I'm tired of recording in a dim, poorly lit closet. And I want to tell you a little bit about the Fuji X-T2 because I've been using it pretty rigorously, been putting it through its paces for the last 3 months, both photo and video. Gotten a lot of questions about it, made a lot of videos about it, done some sort of reviews along the way. But as an owner now, I want to give you a little bit of a different perspective on the question of, am I happy with this camera and would I buy it again? Hey guys, my name is Steve Riker. I'm an adventure photographer and filmmaker, also do some documentary work. And I think it's important to start out by just clarifying where I'm coming from in making this video and what my view and my position is on cameras. Cameras are things. They do not have feelings and they do not have identities. Cameras are objects that cost a lot of money and have no purpose other than to serve me and to do what I want them to do. What I want out of my camera is I want image quality, and then I want the camera to get out of my way. And in previous videos, I have highlighted the elements where Fuji, with the X-T2, where they have fallen short on that. And I don't say those things because I want to denigrate Fuji or because I want to denigrate this camera or even because I dislike this camera, which I do not. I love this camera, frankly. And it's because I love it that I want to highlight the areas where it has missed perfection by a very short amount to clarify to people who are thinking about buying this camera. Here are some things to be aware of that may or may not impact the way you use a camera. Again, the way I use a camera, where I shoot, I'm typically on the fly, run and gun, adventurous situations. Recently, I was over in the Middle East. I shot over 4,000 photos and I don't know how many minutes of video, which I am editing those and I'm going to be sharing them here so that you can get a better idea of the work that I am doing with the Fuji X-T2. So subscribe to this channel if you're interested in seeing those things. But in November, I got this camera to take out to South Dakota, or North Dakota, I'm sorry, for the Standing Rock Dakota Access Pipeline protest. I went out there to photograph, and I was looking for a camera that would have great image quality in a small package and that would also do video at a high level. And so these are the types of sort of photojournalistic and adventure scenarios when I'm climbing and traveling and shooting people that I require a camera that does a very specific thing, and the most important thing a camera can do in my mind is just get the hell out of my way. And a good camera does that well while still delivering image quality at a high level. The truth is that, you know, I've had a lot of different varying feelings about this camera as I've been learning the curves and learning how to use it well. And I think that, you know, my perspective has changed since I have really married, I've committed to this camera, to this system. I'm in it and I'm not sending it back. I like it. And in short, I am not sorry that I bought this camera and I would buy it again. The question is, with all the things that I'm going to talk about in this video that are maybe detractors or shortcomings, while they wouldn't cause me to send the camera back or get rid of it, they would keep this from being my only camera, which, you know, I think is everybody's dream who does photo and video, to be able to have one camera that does everything. I don't think that the X-T2 is that camera right now. I think that it could get very, very close with a little bit of firmware tweaking over the next couple of years, and one of the reasons why I invested in Fuji is because of the fact that I know that they do their due diligence and really update via firmware and improve things dramatically as time goes on. They don't just abandon their cameras, and that's very important. So in terms of the things that the Fuji does well, let's just get those out of the way because everybody kind of already knows them anyways. I'm not going to list specs and go through a bunch of stuff that has already been done to death, and personally, specs don't mean as much to me as how the specs perform and what impact they actually have in the field. The image quality out of this camera is absolutely fantastic. You probably already know that, and if you don't, subscribe to this channel. You'll see some of the images. You can look at past videos that I've made. I'm going to link them here in the annotation so that you can watch the video that I shot from Standing Rock, a couple of those different things. You know, the image quality is absolutely superb. The form factor, they're small. A lot of people really like the fact, myself included, that they have the external controls here for the ISO and the shutter speed and the exposure compensation, and of course the lens on the barrel of the lens is the aperture controls. You know, having all those external controls is super nice, all in a small lightweight package. So it's a good camera. It takes good pictures, it travels really well, and one of the things that's most important to me about a camera is, you know, how it makes me feel. And I know that with my intro makes it sound like I'm very cold and harsh and I abuse my gear and I'm like a, you know, a sadist towards my cameras, but the truth is that a camera that is good, in my mind, is one that inspires you to pick it up and go out and make something with it. And this camera is one that really, it speaks to me and it makes me want to go out and shoot stuff. So from that standpoint, it is amazing. The other thing that is really important to consider too, that I appreciate about the X-T2, is the lens ecosystem. You know, micro four thirds cameras and full frame cameras, I have both. I'm shooting on micro four thirds right now, Panasonic G7, and the link to all the gear that is discussed in this video, the links are going to be down below in the show notes. If you buy using those links, of course, you can support this channel. I will be deeply indebted if you do that, because that helps me make more of these videos. But the lens ecosystem for the Fuji is outstanding. I don't know of too many other camera manufacturers where you can buy native lenses that are the apex of quality for such a low price that, you know, don't have you guessing about, is this a shit lens or not. Micro Four Thirds has millions of lenses, right? Everybody talks about that's why Micro Four Thirds is so awesome, and to be fair, there is a huge selection. However, with a huge selection comes a fairly large population of lenses that are not so good, and once you get past the, you know, unskilled amateur level of criticism, you start to realize that these lenses don't make great pictures. Same thing with Nikon, at least that's the way it was when I was shooting my Nikon a lot, and I was invested in more economy glass with the Nikon. I found that, you know, I wasn't getting great results there. With the Fuji, you can get the 3 f2 lenses, the primes, and have like pretty much a kit that will allow you to shoot just about anything for $1,500 for 3 lenses that are f2, that are brilliant quality, that are small, that are weatherproof. The 23, 35, and the 50. I haven't used the 50, but I own the other 2. And the lens that I used predominantly on this last trip was the 18 to 55, which is image stabilized and is great for video. So, and that lens, I think I bought it used on Amazon. It was like used like new for, I don't know, a couple, I think it was like $400 or $500, something like that, which for a lens that is a very good lens with the optical quality that come out of all of these lenses for the money, it's something that is hugely beneficial, because the camera is only as good as the lens that you put on it. And, you know, frankly, there are other camera companies that make really appealing cameras, but the one thing that has made Fuji a sticking point for me is the lens quality, pricing, and build are all things that I can really, really get behind. So those are the things that Fuji does really well. I'm sorry if that's not detailed enough for you. If you have specific questions, of course, you can drop a comment. I'll be happy to, you know, make further videos or even just respond in comments if it's something that's fairly simple. What I want to talk about now are the obstacles that I have had to work around. People get really offended when you criticize a camera. This isn't criticism. This is just saying, look, these are things that I have had to work around. The majority of workarounds and drawbacks, shortcomings with the Fuji X-T2 are in the video department. Specifically, if you're shooting video light and fast, run and gun in the style that I do, it can be a little bit challenging. Before I dig into the specifics of what I'm going to talk about, it's important to note that a lot of people also think the Fuji X-T2 is not a video camera. It's not a video camera. Fuji doesn't make video cameras, so why are you complaining about it? Not complaining about it, but the reality is that the X100T, you know, the X Pro 2, those are not video cameras, right? They have video capture capabilities. You can shoot video on them, but they are not optimized for video. A camera that doesn't shoot higher than 1080p at this point in time, that doesn't have any clean profiles out, no log profiles, anything like that, you know, you can pretty certainly say that they're not trying to attract video shooters with that camera. The X-T2, however, has pro-level video features, including a log profile, clean, uncompressed, raw output, and that at 4K, and that doesn't happen by accident. That is a camera that is meant to attract video shooters. It is a hybrid camera, even though Fuji may not have built it exactly that way. They kind of are dipping their toe into the market, but they're dipping their toe into the market. I am in that market, and I want to see Fuji do as well by video shooters as they have done by still shooters, because they're amazing, and I want to see that amazingness go further and be more successful. The things that I have found problematic from a video standpoint: the grip and the ergonomics. Now, I have tricked this out, and I will try to adjust the focus here so you can see that. I have put on the dummy grip and the thumb catch here and the shutter button. These are 3 aftermarket accessories that I got that have made this camera way more secure feeling in my hand. I complained about the, kind of the way things felt in my hand when I was shooting without those accessories, and it's a vast improvement. So if you're going to be shooting video, which is going to require different types of camera movements where you have to be a little more agile, video still shooting is, happens up here. If you want to get down, you get down with the camera. Video shooting, you're swinging the camera around, sticking it out the window, shoot the wheels of the car when you're driving down the road. Happened in Oman. You'll see some of that in the video that I'm currently editing from that trip, if you subscribe, right? It felt totally secure with the dummy grip on there. The dummy grip is $100, the thumb catch is like $20, and this stupid little button, I understand, they have to price it so that they can afford to keep making it because it's such an esoteric little product, but that little button is like $20 as well. So for $150 extra, you can kit it out so that it is ergonomically set. Another thing that was problematic for me is, or limiting I should say, is the fact that it doesn't have a flip screen. And this was very frustrating to me because a flip screen, which the G7 that I'm recording on currently has a flip screen, so this is old established technology that should not be an act of God to put it into a camera. It makes it so that if you want to shoot yourself in videos doing YouTube vlog style, talk to the camera stuff, this is not going to be a good camera for it. Because it doesn't have a screen that articulates fully, so if you're in front of the camera, you can't really see what is going on with the battery and other things in the screen readout. Along with that, the app that you might try to use as a workaround through your smartphone, that app does not support any higher resolution than 720p, and so it gets a little bit tricky there. And also, if you want to use autofocus, there's no face recognition in 4K mode, so any face recognition that you want to hopefully put the kind of talk to the camera and have it not lose focus, because you can't verify and watch anything on the screen because you can't flip it around, you can't use the app, you have to trust the autofocus on the camera if you're going to do this type of video. And even in 1080, I found that the face tracking that they do have is not great. There is focus breathing using AF continuous with video mode. Okay, this is something that they very likely can and will fix, but there are a handful of shortcomings there with the camera that make it difficult to use for this type of video. I would have loved to be able to, no offense Panasonic, but get rid of the G7 and have this be my only camera, but I can't do that because when I want to make these types of YouTube videos, I need to be able to watch myself. Otherwise, Otherwise, I'm going to have a bunch of video where I'm going back and forth with focus breathing, and it's just like a whole bunch of work, very stressful, and then the quality isn't even that good because the focus breathing happens in AFC. They can fix that. It would be great if they do, but that's something to be aware of. If you're a YouTuber and you want to shoot yourself, probably not the best camera for that, in my experience. This camera also does not have in-body image stabilization, which means that you have to work a little harder to get good stable footage out of it. Not the end of the world. You can use a gimbal, which is going to probably be my next investment for this, is the Zhiyun crane. The gimbalized has stabilizing motors to really allow you to move freely with the camera and eliminate all but the most pervasive camera movements. You know, it can make up for the lack of in-body image stabilization. I don't hold that against Fuji because from what I've heard, what they need to be able to operate the sensor and the image quality, you know, is not really compatible with IBIS in a camera like this, according to their engineers. Fair enough, I can live with that. Another thing that I've had to work around a little bit as well is the autofocus on stills is a little bit on the slow side, and you'll notice that this is pretty much the only thing that I can come up with. There's one more thing for stills, but there's not a lot to say that I had to work around for stills, because the truth is that from a still standpoint, the X-T2 is just a magnificent camera. It does everything really well, but it can be a little slow in acquiring autofocus in low light, and I've tested this against, unscientifically, right, but just doing comparative tests in some of my other videos about acquisition of focus in low light. And the Micro Four Thirds camera, specifically the G85, which I tested in one of my videos, the G85 acquired focus really quickly, even in low light, whereas the X-T2 was and is a little bit sluggish. But you can, you know, swap that over to manual focus, you know, if you're in low light, and you can still get the job done there. These are all limitations that I've had to work around, but in doing so, I still, you know, don't regret my decision in buying the camera, and I'm still happy to shoot with it. The reality is that I feel comfortable taking this camera into 90% of situations. It doesn't replace everything that a camera could do. So that's the one, you know, kind of thing that I'm a little bit unhappy with as far as this camera, because I would love to have this camera replace my Nikon full frame and or replace my Lumix G7 for YouTube videos, but it's not there. It's not up to speed on that stuff. Your mileage may vary with any of these things. Guys, I would love to hear from you in the comments what you think about any of this. Ideally, it's not going to be like rants in all caps that make it seem like you've gone off your meds and are just yelling and screaming incoherently, because I may have mentioned some things that, yeah, Fuji didn't do great. I think the fact that they left off the flip screen on this is kind of a short-sighted move, given the fact that it's existing technology and that other camera companies have been doing it for years now, and it would really have opened up their market by a wide margin, even without IBIS and without a touchscreen. Even just being able to monitor yourself, I think, would be really, really helpful. But guys, I'm always open for discussion about this stuff, and if you have specific questions about the use that I have put this camera through in the last 3 months shooting in the desert in the Middle East and in the snowy tundras of North Dakota at the Dakota Access Pipeline protest, although it wasn't actually snowing very much when I was there, and everything that I've done with it in between, I would love to hear from you guys. Make sure to subscribe to this channel, because I'm going to make more videos about the creative process and owning your story and what goes into that for me, and hopefully share my experience to help you do that as well. I'm Steve Reicher, and I look forward to seeing you in the next episode of the Adventure Photo Show.